Good evening and welcome to Mindful Live 263. I'm your host, Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is 10:10 p.m. Yeah, late start on the 31st of the 7th month in the year of our Lord 2023. It's the night before or the day before the day of emancipation, where we have been emancipated. You know, the headwear was adjusted to suit the occasion. So, brothers and sisters, kings and queens, feel the emancipation on this day. But we're talking politics too. We're talking politics too. Hey, I went down in the Emancipation Village. I always find, it could have a little more. It could always have a little more. But I always like, those villages, the Emancipation Village, a nice little convention. Good stuff. I like it. Went down there and, grabbed a little. Listen, let me tell you all. Having a child and watching clothing, jeez. I have a little daughter there. My saving grace was that, she's so small, you have to be careful. You don't want to buy something to her size right now because she'll never wear it really and truly. And who's going to buy something for her to wear in the next 2 years? So what she can wear is limited. But as time goes by, going to these things is going to be an expensive event. Jeez. Earl Panton says the UNC has a leadership problem. As a party, it's like the Hydra offering itself for government. Hey, Pampers isn't the most expensive thing, Jaron VC. Whoever told you that is a lie. Kathleen Boodoo, good night. Yeah, Jaron, Pampers isn't the problem for babies. When I hear people talk about, babies, and the main thing they come to mind is Pampers and milk, I'm like, focus is wrong. Pampers and milk are the least of your worries. Milk is made free, generally speaking, by a mother, unless, some circumstances bar that. And really and truly, the fact of the matter is, you don't need a Pampers, A baby is going to do what a baby is going to do. If you hold your baby on your lap just like that, they will do it and be quite fine. So Pampers and milk isn't exactly the most necessary of the problems. But yeah, we're talking politics too. I saw, Earl Panton says that the UNC has a leadership problem. It's like a Hydra offering itself for government. And yeah, I kind of see that. And part of the problem is they don't communicate a plan. And I think they do communicate a plan, Earl Panton. The problem is that a lot of the opposition parties in Trinidad and Tobago, the plan that they communicate, and you see this out of Tobago too, the plan they communicate is just PNM bad, which may be true. It may be true the PNM may be bad in many areas, but if your only plan seems to be PNM bad, PNM horrible, look at the PNM. And you saw this in that the UNC had massive billboards with Patrick Manning calling him a dictator, and the dictator Manning, and they had Dr. Rowley. Look what Dr. Rowley was saying about Manning, and even Dr. Rowley, an old faithful in the PLM, look what he's saying: Manning is a dictator, be worried about it. And then within a year time, when leadership switched from Manning to Rowley, all of a sudden Rowley was a dictator too, because the problem is there isn't a message for them to communicate on their ideal of governance. The message that they work on is PNM bad, PNM evil. So you look over in Tobago, and the Tobago party did a similar thing. PNM bad, PNM evil. That's our mantra that we're going in on. And now that they're in leadership, they don't have a sound vision for leadership for the country. The vision is just PNM evil. So as something comes up, all of the defenses that they have are PNM evil. Like for people who aren't drunk on the Kool-Aid and suspended in the water of this political aggression in Trinidad and Tobago, it seems ridiculous. You're talking about your propaganda business, your own party internal business, and this becomes PNM evil. Like, okay, I don't like the PNM either, but geez, you'll make me defend them now. You'd be forcing me to defend them because it's becoming ridiculous. Everything, the discussion is always PNM evil, not having a level-headed discussion to try to figure out, okay, what is the difference that we are going to put in there. Like I spoke about this in one topic that I am leaning towards probably the UNC's vision on, is the stand your ground legislation that the UNC speaks about, where the idea is to allow people to be better able to defend themselves in Trinidad and Tobago, where you could get the FUL easier, I suppose. But here's the problem. I think the UNC has that stand your ground legislation. The majority of that talk coming from the UNC comes with a PNM bad, PNM has the country dangerous, and we will have it different than the PNM, because there isn't anything clearly iterated inside of this. How is the stand your ground legislation that the UNC keeps talking about, how are they planning for that to be any different than it currently is in Trinidad and Tobago? Because the idea of stand your ground isn't really about getting the license for your firearm. Is once you have the license for your firearm, how would self-defense be treated in the law and in the courts? And really and truly, to be honest with you, my worry in Trinidad and Tobago isn't about how you'd be treated if you do defend yourself. By and large in Trinidad and Tobago, if a bandit comes into your home and you kill him, you don't really hear people getting pressed too much for that here. That's not a massive problem. So the problem is kind of at the firearm license area. And okay, UNC, you're saying that the PNM is doing this badly. What would you do differently? How would you do this differently? There isn't any discussion or communication about that. It's just PNM bad. Kervon says Farley has one minority assemblyman to face and he is still obsessed with the PNM. Yes, it's kind of ridiculous. Earl Panton says give Jack his jacket. Dr. Rowley communicates information about the economy and the steps taken. Yes, they do. And that's why the PNM oftentimes could get away with this kind of imposing themselves as the grown-up in the political landscape. You know, we are the adults in the room. We are the ones who know how to really do this thing. And to be very honest with you, I despise the PNM's ideology of politics. I don't like the way they see running the country. The view of the PNM as this institution somehow has the answers to all of these complex societal problems, and they would impose it from top down. I find that to be ridiculous. I find that to be oppressive. I find it to make business difficult in the country. I find it to lock people into the status quo, lock you into the regular business areas that are browned down in that area. I don't like that. But the problem is that the PNM is often the only one who communicates that idea. So okay, you could get the idea of the PNM's governance. The other idea seems just, we don't like the PNM, which is okay, I think fine to some extent, but I can't just select you based on who you don't like. White Leather says, steps taken, all he and Calm know is to tax and spend, tax and spend. You see, White Leather, I don't agree with some of the taxes that they propose, but when the PNM proposes those taxes, they regularly come. Faris has been making rounds and rounds and rounds trying to explain and, you know, get into the nuance of what this tax is about and tie it to the estate taxes in the United Kingdom. And, you know, it's about the local government reform and da. And okay, you could say they're BSing you. You could say they're full of BS. You could say all of that, but you can't say that they aren't trying to make it seem like there's a plan and they're going to successfully execute this plan and exactly how this plan is going to benefit the country. You don't have to believe them. But that's what they're telling you and iterating. Kevon says, very often anachronistic. Calm embodies it perfectly. Yes, he does. That said, I rate calm still. We could have been Barbados situation. Possibly. Bali says, well, when they tax, they have to use the money for something. So yeah, they will tax and spend it. Yes, yes, yes. And you know, one of my main problems with taxing is that I don't like the spending. They spend horribly, so don't come and tell me that you don't have enough money and you need to tax more when you're spending the money badly in the first place. Like, if you need more money, look at the areas you are badly spending it currently and take some from there instead of going to tax the people more. User says, we had a good dose of Kamla. We know what to expect. And for me, part of the problems with that group was it nearly felt, and I know there could probably be a sexist tinge to that, maybe a misogynistic tinge, but it nearly felt like KPB didn't have the reins of her stint. She wasn't securely in control of the reins of power back then. Like, things ran kind of like this train was wobbling on the tracks. Like, at any given moment, carriages could have been flying off of this train here. Like, okay, it like, think of it like this. When the PNM jumps into the seat, okay, the train is heading in a direction. You can despise the direction it is heading in, but you're seeing their whole plan, and they're shoveling the coal, and yes, they're heading in that. Now, when someone else is there, their plan is just anti the PNM. Okay, but what is the plan now? Where's the direction? How are we going to move here? That's what you need some more of. Yes, Ronnie, you know, you must have the right headwear for the occasion. Panting, our politicians are so bad mind that the country comes last and party first. Where's the smelter that would have changed our economy? Well, it wasn't only the politicians that did that. And to be fair, panting, the politicians do that because they have people support. Look, the example is over in Tobago. I've been having some discussions with some Tobagonians, and for some of the supporters, it's nearly like they are proud. They willingly accept the fact that they aren't using a logical base for what they're talking about here. They don't need a logical, sensible base. And I'm telling you, I have to go back there because it's a discussion I've been having over on Facebook with the flat earthers out here. It's frustrating to speak to someone that doesn't require something to make sense for them to hold it as their view. Like, the flat earther people, they think that science is, or that belief in something is just, I feel something. I feel, what if the air is glass? Maybe that's so. Yeah, the air could be glass. No, you have to find a way to test if this makes sense. Let's test if this adds up. No. You believe them scientists, boy? What if the air is glass? No, we have to use a logical base for this. No, that is them by the white man. Like, no, please. Let's use a logical base for things, people. Please. I didn't believe that was real flat earthers. Ronnie, they're very real. They are very real. And flat earthers come out of a very specific group in society. Young men, generally speaking, who have large egos and not very far in formal education. To be very blunt with it, large egos and not very far in formal education, and they hold on to these theories because they don't even understand oftentimes the very basic ideas of science. They don't get what it means to make an experiment successful. They just don't have that in their head. But they have the ego and the narcissism to be very confident in what they believe. So it's a very strange mix. You aren't going to change their mind. They are going to tell you that black is white. I had a young man telling me that the sun is not hot. The rays of the sun are not hot. And the reason they feel hot is because they concentrate through quantum friction. As they pass through the atmosphere, the rays rub against the atmosphere with quantum friction, and that makes it warm. What do you base this on? Well, trust me, bro. Okay, what's the study? Well, trust me, bro. Okay. Curve on, it's like nailing jello to a wall. Trying to have a discussion like that is like nailing jello to a wall. You could drive the nailers perfect through the center of the jello, and the jello would just slip down on the two sides and go its way, because it doesn't matter. They don't need to function on your playing field. Oppenheimer, you rated it 9 out of 10. What a big rating, Ronnie. What a big rating. Hey, let me jump into one news story, something I saw. And you all know this is my kind of story here. This is my kind of story. Woman kills home intruder with husband's licensed gun. Feel good stories. Communities and homeowners need to come together to ensure they become hard targets and cannot be preyed upon by the criminal elements. This according to Crime Stoppers Director and Administrator of the Neighborhood Crime Watch program, Darren Carmichael, who spoke of the need to change the culture of doing things in this country at a community security meeting at the Spring Village Community Center last Wednesday. And I agree with this view. One of my problems with the PNM is it seems like the PNM has the opposite view of this. The PNM doesn't want to make targets hard. The PNM has the intention of making it impossible for the criminals to target you. So they want to take away all the guns from the criminals, okay? Take away the guns from the criminals, make sure the criminals can't target you. But here's the problem. They're failing at that job. And then while they fail at that job, they're telling you, no. Let's not make your target too hard. We don't want hard targets around our country. You know, we don't want this difficult, hard country around us. While it seems like they're not looking out and seeing the country's already at that kind of level. People are like, well, you don't want people to be shooting out with each other in the streets. You mean like they're already doing? The meeting was organized by St. Augustine MP Khadija Amin and Councillor Richard Rampersad in the wake of an upsurge in crime in Spring Village. In attendance were Carmichael and Sergeant Telly Denoon of the St. Joseph Police Station, as well as Spring Village residents. Carmichael spoke about the number of home invasions taking place in the country and the need for people and communities at large to tighten any vulnerabilities and guard themselves against the criminal element. He said washing your car in your yard, spending time in the hammock, or even emptying your vehicle after going to the supermarket must be done with caution and guard, because criminals are looking for any opportunity to pounce. Isn't that unfair? Isn't that ridiculous? You can't wash your car in your yard. And you see, this is why I think the PNM is concerned with militias forming against the state. That's not a problem for me. To be very honest, that's not a problem for me. I think the country probably needs some of that. I think the country needs for those in leadership to have some worry about the citizens. Don't think that the citizens are just your servants and your subjects, because the PNM has that kind of feel where they act as if the citizens are their subjects, but that's not the country that we're supposed to be living in. The country we're supposed to be living in, all people are supposed to be equal. So you're supposed to have a little worry about your citizens. That's why I like that Second Amendment in the United States, where they have enshrined in their constitution the right for each person to bear arms, and the reason isn't even self-defense in that case. It's that the government is supposed to be afraid of its people. You want it to be that Dr. Rowley should be thinking, you know, I don't want to make a decision that's going to get everyone too upset, because if everyone gets too upset, things would get dangerous. I want that to be the case, but we don't have that in Trinidad. We have a political elite class that will whine in your face and spit on you because they understand that the military and the military and the police are by and large on their side. So it's a top-down ruling kind of class thing. Despise it. Kilburn says PNM authoritarianism doesn't countenance that, right? No, it doesn't, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And when you see that authoritarianism lean, and then you hear them speak with the air of superiority, you get the feeling like you're going right back into ancient monarchy or oligarchic kind of ruling. And then when you hear things like who inside of Dr. Rowley's golfing group is connected where and how many boards one man is sitting on as a chairman, you get the feel like, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Carmichael said people must even be careful spending time outside speaking to neighbors. It have no talk anymore. Goodbye, see you later, and lock your door. The criminals have us living like we are the ones who are supposed to be the ones behind bars, while they roam free outside. So I want you to change the culture of what we're doing. Unfortunately, we have to, he said. And that's what I don't like. I believe if there was an armed population, that would not have been the case. Joe's Rednar says they live in their ivory tower and we the commoners have to face the heat with burglar proofing for protection, and burglar proofing doesn't work anymore. Criminals, burglar proofing was for another era of criminals. The burglar proofing was for another era of criminals when the criminals were skinny pipers trying to work their way through your louvers. But criminals these days aren't trying to skate through your louvers and open a glass and sneak in and carry out a TV in the middle of the night. No, they're waiting till you come home and you open the gate and they will point a gun at you and tell you, hey, give me everything. I'm not going to climb and squeeze through a burglar. No, burglar proof. You don't need that burglar proofing anymore. That's old news. But as I was saying, I believe, and this is why I say in a more armed population, because what he's speaking about there with neighbors talking. Listen, if I was a criminal, me and my crew of gangsters rolling around in our car, it's a carload of us, 4 in the car, and I see a man talking to his neighbor there, but I know that, you know, these people are armed. I know if I pull up on this man here and I tell him, hey, open me a gate, open me a house, and the rest of neighbors see it, there's going to be a small militia waiting for me when I try to escape. Would I have an incentive to go through with the robbery or to not do the robbery? I am telling you where the incentive will go. This top story has the article about the woman who shot the intruder, but they actually don't have the story in there. And the story was pretty simple. A woman was at home with her daughter alone. Her husband wasn't at home, it seems, but he has a licensed firearm inside of the home. And when they tried to break in, she shot one of them in the head. Simple as. There was no robbery, there was no assault. Now, if she did not have that firearm, how do you think that story would have ended? A woman and her daughter alone in a home with multiple men attempting to break in. How would that story have ended? And like questions like that, these are things I want reporters to go to the Prime Minister with. When he says things about like firearms aren't the solution. Okay, Dr. Rowley, a case like this where this woman faced the home intruders with a firearm there. Do you think, are you saying that we should have less of this in the country? Are you saying that you want more women with their daughters home alone when a home intruder comes to their home? You want more of them to be unarmed. That's your wish, Dr. Rowley. I would like reporters to corner these people with the questions. Don't just leave them to say this nonsense unchallenged. Speaking like, guns in the country and with a racial tone. Like, guns in the country could create racial violence, and you don't want people shooting people for stealing their mangoes. And what are you talking about? That's not what people want weapons for now. We need more legal guns, Rooney says, and I fully agree. 100% agree with that. It is, as many people call it, the great equalizer. Without a weapon, a lady like that and her daughter had no chance. And when I said this before, I remember some people speaking about you're going to have shootouts between the bandits and homeowners, etc., etc. But the reality is most bandits, even if they are armed, aren't prepared to do a Call of Duty special ops mission on your home. That's not what the bandits come there for. They came there not even to fire a shot. The aim is the gun is only for intimidation, really and truly. One shot in self-defense is often enough to send bandits scampering. One shot. Because they aren't aiming to go through all of that. Not only more legal guns, we shouldn't have to beg St. James Barracks for it. Correct. He and his merry men are disconnected from reality because they live 24/7, 365 protected. Correct. I regularly say this. The people that stand on the stage, I saw was it Stacey Sagram something from the PNM standing on the stage and adamantly shouting that the guns aren't the solution. We don't need more guns in the country. It's just going to make things. And I'm thinking to myself, 100% certainty, this person is protected by a firearm. And I know people around some of those in the government circle. Nearly every single one of those government MPs and ministers have firearms already, and they will stand up there bold-faced with makeup on their face, smiling at you, telling you you don't need a firearm, when they know that they have the gun in their purse, because their belief is they are different from you. They are at a different level. My life needs protection, while your life needs management. Your life is like, I'm managing the risks. So okay, yes, there might be 600 murders, but I'm trying to manage the risk of how many guns we are going to legally allow in the country. So it's a management issue. No, it's not a management issue. It's my life. And when we're talking about your life, you require a gun to protect yourself. So when we're talking about my life, allow me the same, and manage the society as it exists in reality, not as it exists in your utopic fantasy. Because who or pay 50k for your FUL? If guns aren't the solution, then their security should give up arms. Yeah, they won't do that. They think they're special. Yes, they do. They do think they're special. So it rides me when I hear that all of them have firearms, because trust me, nearly all of them have firearms. The ones you think might not, the little small senator lady down there, yeah, when you go talk to someone in the airport, when they have to fly and they have to check it in or not check it in or something like that, and you would see many of them that would stand up there and support Dr. Rowley. No, those people don't need guns. Too much guns in the society. It's disgusting, really and truly. And that's why I say I want an armed society. I want it to be that when politicians stand up there and say foolish things like that, treating other people's lives like they're worth less than theirs, that they understand there's a risk to this. I want that to be the case. You see, the problem with politicians like that, when politicians have that view, they look at the country as a chessboard. I don't like the chessboard country. Our country is a drafts board. All of us are of the equal standing. You aren't the queen, you aren't the king, and I ain't the pawn. That's not how it works. And you get to decide, okay, some pawns might be sacrificed because the king and the queen are the important pieces. No. That chessboard was toppled. We threw that chessboard over. That when we said we wanted democracy and a republican constitution, the idea was to throw that chessboard over and we run this as a totally different game. There's no king, queen, bishop, rook, anything like that. We're all supposed to be on the same playing field, but they don't have that view. So, like when people talk about the communication levels from the opposition, to me, if the opposition wants to communicate things to the country, that's what they need to communicate about the government. If they want to communicate something clearly, that's what to communicate about the government. But here's the problem in Trinidad and Tobago. I am not sure how many political parties actually have a different ideology as to governance. I don't know how many of them actually see that, okay, we should govern a different way. Like I regularly say this. There are political landscapes to talk about. So there's libertarianism, there's more authoritarianism, there's more leftism in the socialist side, there's more free market in the free market side. You know, there are different kind of ideologies in politics. I don't know where to place our political parties. You see, the United National Congress was founded as the ULF previously and had previous labor incarnations before. It's supposed to be a labor party, meaning, generally speaking, it's very left-leaning, coming out of the idea of unions, the trade union, labor union movement. So their governing style is supposed to be down that line. Now, to me, that scares me actually. I don't like that. I look at unions, and there have been successful unions. Successful unions put themselves out of business because there are unions in different countries, different areas in the world, where over time the union bought out the previous owner, and now many of those companies are worker-owned and worker-run companies, co-ops, and that's what unions do if they are serious. We take over the company and run the company how the workers want the company to run. What unions do when they are not serious is they always want to remain as the workers, as the employees, and always argue with the employers to eke more out of the economy, because they're socialists at heart and they believe that the people who create more are supposed to pay more. I don't agree with that. So if the UNC is indeed a Labour Party, I don't actually agree with that political ideology. But the problem is, I don't even know if they are. What is your political ideology? The PDP came about, and all I could kind of gather from the PDP is populism, because Duke speaks of populism. Whatever the popular sentiment is, that's what we want. And here's the thing: populism is scary. Populism is what Duke said when he went up in East Port of Spain, the Laventil region, where we know there is a crime problem, and he said for the MP, if you have to steal and thief something and give in, and I'm like, wait, this guy wants to be a leader in the country, and that's his populist view, that if you have to steal itself, no, that's scary stuff. What's the political ideology? So as I said, I don't like the PNM zone, but the other parties, I can't tell even what it is. Sozi says, whereas I agree with what you are saying, there must be a distinct line. Who gets a firearm? And here's the problem, Sozi. I want that. I want that. I want that. Have you ever been a member of a trade union? I have had interactions with trade unions. Enough interactions with trade unions. What's the head of a union salary? Name one union where the workers are paid fairly in the union itself. Which company in Trinidad runs better because of many of those unions? I already answered some of what you asked, it's Neil, and then I went further from there. The UNC was the party of sugar labor. Now it's the party of Lanchback and Gulf View Indians, according to Wide Leather. Wendy Medium says, good night, folks. It's been a minute. Yes, it has, Wendy. It's been a while. But yeah, Sozi, my problem is that's my very issue. Like, if it was very clear about what the stipulation was for the person who gets the firearm, then that would make sense. Okay, people who have XYZ ABC 1 2 3, you qualify for a firearm. People who don't have that, you don't qualify for a firearm. I love to debate you on this, but tonight's topic is not about that, so maybe another time. Okay, it's Neil. We can talk another time about the usefulness of unions. Maybe this week. I'd enjoy that this week. We could go down speaking about the usefulness of unions, because in my opinion, for a lot of what unions do in the current context, a WhatsApp group can replace many of the current unions. Many of the current unions are basically money-making schemes for the higher ups in the unions, and it's been years since many of those unions have been benefiting the workers to a high extent. If you look at unionized, anyway, we'll save that for when we talk about it. But yeah, that's my problem with the firearm Sozi. We don't know what the stipulations are, and I think that's on purpose. I think it's purposefully opaque. It's purposefully difficult to figure out what you need to have to get the firearm. So it's always just up to the say-so of whoever is there. And we have so many laws like that in the country. Our legal system seems like they purposefully craft it to be like that. You could never know on a fact basis if you are all above the law, because a police could stop you on a given day, look at your vehicle, and nearly 100% they could find something wrong that they could charge you with, or they could give you a violation for. It's just the nature of the laws. And I think they purposefully do that with the firearm licenses too. Because you hear many people who talk, I'm not for stand your ground. McCandle, you are a scary person already. Already I see you are a scary person, because you was someone who just agreed with when the PDP leader went into Laventille and said steal something and give us self, and now you're saying you don't agree with stand your ground law. You sound like a bandit unionist. You sound like you work for the bandit union right there. You agree that they should steal and give, but you don't agree that people should protect their own property with all that there is. You're a scary guy. You are a very scary guy. Very, very scary. Y'all, you see that kind of thought? The people who believe that we could, it's society's unfair, so we could, it's just to steal from others and give to the people that need more. But then they also, at the same time, while holding that believe that people shouldn't be able to just protect themselves on their own merit. No. You see the direction that goes in. We've seen this, especially in the last century. Many countries did it. The Russians did it. The Chinese did it. The North Koreans did it. That's what they do. Not only do they have to redistribute your wealth for it to be fairer, but they also have to make sure that you can't protect yourself when they come to redistribute your wealth. Scary people. Scary people. I totally agree with you on the point of firearm. Trini Just Flow says stand your ground don't always go the right way. I agree. It won't always go the right way, but without it, what's the alternative? So yes, you could end up with the instance where someone went onto someone else's property, not meaning harm, and oh no, now there's a tragedy. I rather have a couple of those per year than 150 home invasions where the bandits run into your home and kick down your granny and grandfather because they know no one in this house could protect themselves. You're talking like the options are perfection and this. None of the options are without fault. So you have to weigh which direction you want default to go. Do we want the risky freedom, or do we want the jailed protection? And in the jailed protection, they aren't even protecting you. White Leather says last week the amount of people boasting on how they benefited from the coup looting. Hey. Bro, there are people like that in society. Always remember there are people like that in society. People who in society look out and believe that what other people have, they shouldn't have, and I should have it. There are people like that in society. And it's scary when they are facilitated by other people who believe that you should not be able to protect what you have. I remember someone was saying that, do you believe your possessions, your physical possessions are worth more than someone's life? It's not that. It's, does someone else believe that their life is worth less than my physical possession? It's not about what value I put on your life. This is my possessions and my home. If you risk your life to get my possessions, then you don't value your life. It's not on whether I value your life or not. You have to value your own. Joe says no one can go shooting like the Wild Wild West with illegal firearm or brandishing it. There are laws. Of course there are. McCandle says I'll do like Papa Doc, Jean-Jacques Dessalles and M. Gaddafi. Yes, exactly, McCandle. We know that's what you will do. We know that's what you will do. We know that. We've seen that. We've seen where that mentality leads. Joe says in place to treat with that. Yes, there are laws. It's not like you just do that randomly. Cheryl says it's insane that someone who defends their life in their own home during invasion could face charges. And that's what stand your ground is about. Like, people act like, there are no laws here and people are just going to go shooting up the place. No. Like, who do you think you live amongst? Your neighbors have cutlasses right now. They have cars. If your neighbor hated you that much, when you stepped on the road, they could have knocked you down with their car. A car is a deadly weapon. People don't randomly go just killing everybody like that. That's not how societies function. Even if they had a gun, they would not just go on a shooting rampage randomly like that. That's the fear-mongering that the elite somehow sell down to the regular citizens. Listen, regular citizens. If all of you regular citizens are allowed weapons, all you would start to shoot up each other. So here's what. None of you should get guns, so none of you don't shoot up each other. But Dr. Rowley, in your home area in West Moorings there, how many of your neighbors have guns? And how come they don't shoot up each other? Is it just the common folk that are unable to handle the responsibility of a firearm? How come when the elites, when all those MPs who behave like children in parliament, how come when they have firearms, they don't just shoot up each other? Is it just going to be the common man who is unable to handle the awesome responsibility of a firearm? Come on, don't buy into that. Trinidad is overrun with cars. Cars are a deadly weapon. There's a lot of road rage in Trinidad and Tobago. Even with all of the road rage and so many cars as deadly weapons, how often do you see a Trini losing control and taking their car and running it into somebody and trying to kill them? I mean, it has happened before, but it isn't the most common thing. Gibran over on Instagram says, how come knives don't kill people but guns do? It's always the people, bro. It's always the people. McCandle says, Trinidad too weak. Stand your ground in Haiti. Community leaders give out cutlasses. Yeah, McCandle, we've seen how Haiti, that kind of, and I'm wearing the hat today too. That kind of real militant pro-black stuff. I like, if you have that view, I urge you, go to Haiti and live out your dream, bro. Go and do that live action role playing over there in Haiti and live out that dream. Because don't bring that to us peaceful folk. We are the peaceful Africans. You see me now? I am not the militant African, I'm the peaceful African. You want to live out your militant fantasy, go right ahead and die and make a beautiful young corpse. He's the man that said he attacked an intruder with a dagger and the Pope fled. Yep, he is. Trini says, are the guns for everyone or just business owners? Trini Just Flow, that's exactly the problem I keep saying. That's exactly the problem I keep saying. What I want is, tell me what is the stipulation. Okay, some people can get the license. Who are these some people? Who are the people can be licensed? What is the what are the requirements? That is not how it is presently. No one knows it. It's so opaque that you go and it's just a guess game. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't, and you have no real idea why. When he says America has the most amount of crazy people, yet they have the right to bear arms. Yes, and the strange thing is many people who are very anti-gun speak about the US and their gun crimes, but if you look at that, generally speaking, the most armed areas in the United States are oftentimes the most peaceful areas. Strangely enough, the statement people go along with that, as people say it, is an armed society is a polite society. And you know, they talk about the general violence in the US, and I think that that's similar to Trinidad and Tobago. Multicultural societies are more violent. That's just the reality of it. It's much more difficult to get that cohesive kind of vibe going along. So multiculturalism does beget some difficulties in society. White Leather says currently the guns are for anyone who could pay the bribe. Aye. Cheryl says bribes are louder than gunshots in Trinidad. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? And consider this. If you are in support of the current government, who is of the view that regular people shouldn't have firearms, what you are actually endorsing is the status quo currently, where it is that those who could pay the bribes and those who are friends with the elites have firearms and everyone else doesn't. So it's only the criminals, the police, and the elites with firearms. And you are the sitting ducks in the middle. Is that what you want the country to be? Because that's what you are encouraging as is. Jahim says, I buy my fire and me have no permit. Permit can't save my life. Hey. I won't doubt that either, and I am by no means recommending anyone to do anything of the like, but I won't doubt that there are many people in positions like that in Trinidad and Tobago where they have illegal firearms and they have it for protection purposes. For me personally, I think that the nature of Trinidad and Tobago, the risk there might outweigh the reward nonetheless, because the legal fraternity is not going to have mercy on you for the sake of protection. You know, as you said that, Jahim, about having firearms there, and hearing what this government says here, a very interesting story I came across not too long ago. I can't even remember which paper it was. Listen to this article. This is an excuse given by our government. Our government, the same PNM government that does not want to give people firearms to protect themselves. Listen to this. FOIA red flag. The stage is set for an intriguing legal case following the government's refusal to disclose information requested under the Freedom of Information Act on the grounds that it must protect personal and financial information in light of the ongoing crime situation, which could result in payees being targeted. You're listening to this very carefully. This is our PNM government giving this excuse to our court of justice in Trinidad and Tobago. Listen. Responding to a request filed by an attorney for the United National Congress, activist Marsha Walker, the permanent secretary in the office of the Prime Minister, went on to argue that while disclosure would promote accountability and transparency, a balancing exercise favors non-disclosure of named individuals. Apart from everything else, this is a stunning admission by the government of the extreme impact of crime on the nation's affairs. That being said, however, the OPM's decision to deny non-exempt information on a highly subjective and generalized basis should be challenged. Allowing it to go unchallenged would be to permit an unacceptable trespass on the public's right of access to defined information under the FOIA. So here's what's going on here. One of the UNC activists is asking for information. They're asking for information about state contracts with regards to, which one was this with regards to? State contracts about who received payments from state contracts, they were asking. And with the Freedom of Information Act, you are supposed to be able to petition for that information to be released. And once the information is within a certain bound, they can release it. Now, the state says, we cannot release this information to you because the country is too violent. The country is so violent, if we let you know who the state pays money to in a contract, we would be putting their life at risk. It's nearly I read what the current criteria was, but I can't remember it offhand. But the main part of the current criteria is just just that they deem if you are at risk enough, and then they will tell you if you could. It's you have to be at a certain level where you could see yourself being at risk if you collect money, if you're a businessman, etc. There are some criteria, but the criteria by and large isn't a difficult criteria to meet. The problem is the criteria is easy to meet, but at the end of the day, it's up to the FUL panel to just decide whether you get it or not. Trini Just Flow says, I believe the justice system needs to be fixed before guns go out to the public. That's ridiculous, Trini Just Flow. That's ridiculous. That's so how many more people will die with the hamstrung justice system while we wait for the justice system to be fixed before we allow the firearms out? The reason the firearms are there is because the justice system and the police are failing at their job, so people need to protect themselves. To tell me that what we need to do is fix the failing system and then we could protect ourselves sounds ridiculous to me. It's like, I want a life jacket because I see that the captain of the boat I am on doesn't know how to drive a boat, and I see this boat is leaking, so I'd like a life jacket. And you're telling me, no, here's what we're going to do. When we reach to the shore and we switch the captain and we fix over the boat, then you will get a life jacket. No, sir. I am worried about dying right now. I want the life jacket right now, please. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait till you fix it at some maybe future time. Crixan, she says, I think it affects national security. They will not divulge info on the Freedom of Info Act. Crixan, Cheese, you didn't listen to what I said. It is not something that is outside of the Freedom of Information Act. It does not risk national security. The government admits that it is within the purview of the Freedom of Information Act. They admit that. They are saying that the people that they paid the money to, the government gave out state contracts. The people they paid the money to, they don't want to tell the public who those people are, because the public will find out how much money the people got. And if they find out how much money the people got, this country is so dangerous, you're putting people's life at risk. Main factor to eliminate crime, make it drop, educate, Afro history and jobs. People are broken. McCandle, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie told by some pro-Afro people who are actually pro-crime. Listen, the problem in the Afro community is corrupt cultures. It's not a job. It's not education. If you educate people into reinforcing the corrupt cultures, you will just push it in further. They are educated criminals. You cannot educate crime out of a place. It's not crime. It's not education. It's not a job. Those people in many of those areas, they go in and give them CPEP and URP and contracts and construction contracts. And the contracts and the jobs that they are giving them are being used to create more crime and criminality. Jobs are not the problem. That's a lie. Do not believe it. Maybe a system that focuses on who should be disqualified as opposed to who qualifies. Maybe that would make sense. It's Neil. This is what I'm saying. The info should be given. Now, contractor names. As a citizen, you should have a right. That right could be withdrawn based on some specific criteria. I agree with that. It's Neil. I agree with that. Crime and criminality, you reach to a point where they are playing any mini miny more with the citizens. Maybe if you have a criminal conviction. Correct. Cheryl says gang leaders get CPEP contracts. Correct. That's it, Cheryl. And I have spoken, I remember in the conversation I had with the head of the Tunapuna Piako Regional Corporation, and he was making that point when he worked in the La Hakita region. And he grew up in La Hakita, and he was saying that he tried for a very long time to help some of the guys there, give them jobs, give them this, bring a contract here. And he recognized for a lot of them, what was going on is when he gave one, it would cause animosity between this one and that one, and now it's crime and this one killing this one. And so he, in his pursuit of helping them, it actually made more problems. So it's not that they were lacking jobs, they were lacking a proper culture. They had a corrupt culture. They grew up horribly. They were poor people, not in terms of money, in terms of character. They had poor characters. So what they needed was a proper culture. It's a culture change needed in those cases. And that's why his view of his vision of that was to put in education for the next generation. You could nearly forget about this one. Let's educate the next. User says, okay, so you are saying to give everybody, you're supposed to have a gun, and you are saying share gun to all? That's not what I'm saying, user. McCandle says they're giving criminals contracts, not law-abiding citizens. So now the law-abiding citizens forced to do crime. That does not make sense, McCandle. That does not make sense. In many of those communities, you as a law-abiding citizen cannot go into the community and do a job because the criminals in the community prohibit it from happening. I regularly say this. I don't believe poverty causes crime. I believe crime causes poverty. That's way more obvious to me. You look at cities right now in the United States where they are losing Walmarts, they are losing their stores, they are losing their businesses. Why? Because all of a sudden shoplifting skyrocketed, because somebody believed that, the problem in these cities was that these poor black people, they were oppressed by the criminal justice system. So what we needed to do was relax the criminal justice system. Don't throw them in jail for these small crimes. They need social workers to show them love and give them education. Okay, well, you kept releasing the criminals, and the criminals kept doing more crime. And as the criminals kept doing more crime, the businesses said, you know what, I can't stay in this community. So the businesses left the community, and now the community has lost a business that supplied jobs for the community. Now the community has lost a business that supplied food for the community, and now they're complaining about what they call food deserts. I don't know how many of you have heard about that. Food deserts inside of those cities, especially in minority communities. Those communities for blocks upon blocks have no groceries. They have no stores to sell food. It's like a food desert. Why? Because you robbed all of the stores and they left. So now you are left in squalor and poverty. Not because you started in squalor and poverty. No, you started in crime. And the crime brought poverty. The poverty didn't bring the crime. The crime brought the poverty. In many of those communities, look at El Salvador. El Salvador was losing something like upwards of $6 billion in extortion per year. The president decided, you know what? These boys don't need night football. They don't need a football league. They don't need extra classes. They don't need a hug. They don't need a daddy. They need jail. He built a massive jail, took all those bad boys who wanted to be bad boys, and put them inside of that jail. And then, like magic, what would you know? The murder rate stopped. Something from nearly 2,000 murders dropped to nearly double digits only. Wow. Business areas all of a sudden started to blossom, because the person who wanted to open a cafe and were afraid that the gangsters would have robbed them blind in the cafe, now they could have the confidence to open the cafe. If you're a resident in one of these downtrodden hotspot area communities in Trinidad and Tobago, and you want to open a business, a corner parlor to sell something out of your store, no one is going to come. McCandle says, I went into a hotspot area to teach the youths and saw gang leaders getting everything. Now I have no job, so with my talent, education, and physical fitness, I find people for criminal. Okay, McCandle. And you went into a hotspot area to teach youths and saw gang leaders getting everything. That's literally what goes on. That's literally what goes on. That's why crime breeds poverty. People think like these gang leaders, because they give somebody a little food for Christmas, are good guys. No, they are not. They swallow up all the positivity in a region and strangle the region. Gibran over on Instagram says, the greatest idea I've ever heard is outlawing something because it's a problem. Because we know how well criminals follow the law. Oh no, guns are illegal. Guess I can't get one. In an effort towards transparency, how about showing detailed breakdowns of how the money was spent? We don't need to know who got it, but who we should know where it went. 5 mil to fix roads, but they're... Yes, but they won't do that either. Weak men create hard times. Facts. Facts. Rome says crime is a business in TNT. Ask the lawyers. Yes, it is. You know, something I was looking at with the Barbados bad boys. You know, the Barbados bad boys who screamed asking for their mother when Maximan floored the gas. And they went to court and they got no bail. A little maxi robbery. Like in Trinidad and Tobago, if you did a little maxi robbery, like you even have to worry about that. You know bail coming the next day. Why do our courts give so much bail? Like, isn't bail supposed to be weighed on the circumstances? How are these guys caught in the act of a robbery and given bail? I remember our Minister of National Security said recently that criminals have friends in the judiciary. And when he said that, the judiciary kicked a fit. How dare he even mention such a thing? And I mean, our Minister of National Security isn't exactly my favorite person on earth, but I don't think he's wrong. Trini Just Flow says that is the broken system I am talking about. I agree, Trini Just Flow. That's why I want a gun. Because all the bandits keep getting bail. I don't want to wish that someday some magician is going to come into power and decide to tell our judges, stop giving the criminals bail, and then when that happens, then you give me something to protect myself. No, they are giving all the criminals bail constantly. So here's what, allow me to protect myself. If they give the criminals bail, allow the citizens to end this criminality permanently. Right? The citizens will wrap up this criminality. Men here in TNT have numerous serious charges pending and still get bail. The law and the justice system. Correct. Parrot 868 says innocent until proven guilty. That is true, Parrot, but there is still a limitation on that. That's what the bail system was created for. Because you don't just get bail magically. You are supposed to see a judge. They're supposed to see the evidence before them. And the problem isn't here, Parrot, the people without a criminal record that are being released. You don't try to gaslight people here. If I really despise the criminal apologists. I despise anyone who is a criminal apologist. The country is way too violent for criminals to have people trying to seek their best interests like that. No, stop that. The case here isn't that, the one poor fella who never had a criminal record and, he got bail. No, we're talking people who live in these communities. This guy that is the main pest in the community, he has 5 pending charges. He's held on another gun charge this week. The police found a gun in his home. He went in, and then the next week you see him out again. He's out on bail. How is this possible? Every time you hear police hold someone arrested for murder, he had a previous charge and a previous conviction for this and a previous this, and he was out on bail for that. It is ridiculous. Cheryl says they can't find the illegal guns, though. Of course they cannot. Tallest says responsible people without guns are like sitting ducks. Yes, they are. Child, then everyone acts surprised when a heinous crime is committed. Yep. Parrot says, as if there's only a small group robbing those who are constantly being arrested. Most home invasions are by men from outside areas. I agree, Parrot 868. And you see, here's the thing, Parrot. The majority of robberies, the majority of crime is done by a minority of people. That's why prison works. Prison works. It works because the majority of crime is done by a minority of people. It isn't easy to identify criminals. Parrot, the president, what is his name? Bukele, Nayib Bukele of El Salvador would beg to differ. Parrot says it's not easy. It isn't easy to identify criminals. Listen. I feel pretty certain I could go through this country. If someone appointed me as the supreme leader of this country, I could go through this country and with a reasonable level of certainty identify the vast majority of criminals. It's not that difficult, Parrot. And they're repeat offenders. It's the same guys doing it over and over again. Repeat offenders, easily identifiable. They're not that difficult to identify. Don't gaslight people. Parrot, don't gaslight people. The criminals aren't hard to identify. Don't do the people that. We could see them. They know them. They see them. It's not that difficult. And then some people blame the police alone. Joe, that's one of the things I always say why I regularly have a lot of licks for the police. But my licks is from a different direction usually. That's not where I licks them because I understand that. The vast majority of people, if these criminals are out on bail, what that tells you is the police have already done the job before. The police have arrested this person for a crime already. It was somewhere else that didn't do the job properly. I know the guy went to jail this time and came out and get back his government job. Sweet tea and tea brew. I mean, if you did your time, I mightn't mind that too much. If you finished your time, but it's still interesting. But yeah, if someone has a criminal record, if they are already out on a charge, it's telling you the police did this job already. The police arrested this person, the police investigated, they already found it out. And I could understand on a police side how frustrating that would be. I have heard in a community that was having some gun violence, but between both of the bad guy versus bad guy. But the community doesn't like the gun violence, obviously. And police came to the community and said, it's best them kill each other, you know, because if we arrest them, they're going to be back out on bail. What's a system like that supposed to do? What you going to do in a system like that? And then if you tell me that the solution there is that we have to somehow cure the judicial system while I'm a sitting duck, no, that's not how I see it. How I see it, the solution there, and this is the solution, but this is because it's not working, this is what you do. Allow people to protect themselves. Simple as. Simple as. I cannot understand how it makes sense. Like, someone has yet to explain this to me. How it makes sense for a country as lawless as ours, where the criminals already have access to firearms, to be so strict on law-abiding citizens getting seen. Our country has a bit of that, what they call that, anarcho-tyranny. You could nearly feel some anarcho-tyranny in how our country runs in certain things. We have a brutally deficient, horrible road network, but we have super strict police licensing officers and traffic wardens out on the street issuing tickets by the millions. That nearly seems anarcho-tyrannic. It's like the part where the government is supposed to control is anarchy. And the part where the government is supposed to allow freedom is tyranny. So the government is supposed to have control of not allowing the criminals to have guns, not allowing the criminals to harass and oppress regular citizens. That part is anarchy. The government is supposed to allow more freedom for citizens to protect themselves, for citizens to have the right to protect themselves, and even for entertainment purposes. That's supposed to have more freedom. No, that part has the tyranny. Anarcho-tyranny. It really does feel like that sometimes. Tolle says we need an honest legal firearm distribution system because with the way the country is now, nope. Gibran says it's all for show, surface level fixes. People see the government banning guns and figure they're safe from the people walking next to them. They forget about the perpetrator in the night. Criminals don't care about government bans. They're criminals because they don't follow the laws. That's the reality. They're criminals because they don't follow the laws. The TTPS is there to earn revenue for the national till. That's correct. That's the problem I have with officers. That right there is the problem I regularly have with officers, and what I regularly talk about with officers. I understand that the officer doesn't have control of all who gets bail. I understand that. But you do have control over tyrannizing regular citizens, over being a literal tax collector. And a lot of police officers in Trinidad and Tobago function as glorified tax collectors. And there's where I have an issue. You live in this country. You see the situation this country is in. You see the situation these roads are in. How could you sleep as a human being, considering yourself an honest, upright person, and give someone a ticket on these disgusting roads? Nah. You're a tax collector. And as I regularly say on that, in that sense, you are the bad guy in what's this? Robin Hood. In Robin Hood, you are the bad guy. The sheriff and his men who are taxing the regular citizens and oppressing them. Yeah, that's you. That's you. Tyrannizing, that's why most of them sign up. Wow. I don't know if I'll say that. I don't know if I'll say that, but are you talking about supersymmetry? Rasputin, bro? Rasputin, you a little too deep for me in a Rasi. I don't know exactly what you mean there. The roads are horrible. Brendan Bidesi says, so do you support stand your ground proposal by the opposition? Yes, Brendan Bidesi, I've said this was what we were speaking about to some extent from the beginning. The problem I have with that, as I'll say it again as we're coming down to the close here, for those of you who were not here in the earlies when I said it, the problem I have with that, as with so many things with the opposition, is it's not very clearly communicated. It seems very much like a position in opposition to the PNM. That's like the only position it really is. That the PNM seems to be on this side, so we are opposing it. I don't have a problem with it. I endorse such things. But the problem in Trinidad and Tobago isn't at the stand your ground level. Stand your ground is basically telling you that you aren't going to get in trouble for using your firearm when you have it on your property. The problem in Trinidad and Tobago is getting the firearm in the first place. Stand your ground legislation isn't going to fix the issuance of the firearm users licenses problem. So it's nearly dishonest to make it seem like pushing stand your ground legislation is the solution that people are talking about here. In Trinidad and Tobago currently, if someone discharges their firearm in their home and kills a bandit, like the lady did, we spoke about that story already for the night. The lady did yesterday, that would be in the Kunupia region somewhere there. A lady was home with her daughter alone, used her husband's licensed firearm, shot a bandit. I think 99.9% chance in Trinidad and Tobago, even if the situation is very suspicious, that lady is going to face no real hard consequences. And that's where the stand your ground legislation comes in. I think stand your ground wouldn't change much in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't think the DPP in Trinidad and Tobago has an appetite for prosecuting self-defense. So I don't think stand your ground is even that necessary. It's a political maneuver. You're using the danger that people legitimately feel to try and eke out some political points without actually communicating how you would really make a change. What you have to communicate is, how would you make that change? How would you actually fix this? How would you change and fix the firearm user licensing issuing problem? That's the problem where it's at. If you understand what I'm saying, that's where the hold up in the procedure is. It's not like we're having lots of people with licensed firearms, but when they use it, they're getting into legal problems. Then the stand your ground talk would have made a lot of sense. But that's not where the problem is currently. No, Rasputin, I'm not Njax. This hat is just for the occasion, you know. Emancipation being tomorrow. Got a rep. Gibran says there's a great scene from a Denzel Washington movie where someone comes to his house and he walks out with a gun. The guy says, "Are you going to shoot me on your porch?" Do either of the major parties really give clear details of their proposal? Cheryl asks. And to be very honest, Cheryl, I'll say the PNM gives clearer details. I'll say that. The PNM gives clearer details. That's kind of the issue. We were speaking about this earlier in the live. I don't like the PNM's governance style. I don't like their ideology, their political ideology for governing the country. I do not like it. The problem is that the other parties do not give clear proposals, clear outlines, a clear outlay of what their opposing ideology is in a alternative sense. All they do is say PNM evil, PNM bad. Okay, if you think so, what is the alternative style of governance you are going to use? It nearly seems like all of them have the same view of governance and they just think that I would do it better than the other guy, which in that case, it's all just exchange and not change. He replies, "Now come on inside. I'll shoot you inside." Correct. And Gibran, yes it is. Gibran, that's like the argument regularly you hear people saying where, you know, do you value your material goods, your possessions more than someone else's life? Would you kill someone else for their life? For your material possessions? No. It's not that I value my possessions more than your life. No. You value your life less than my possessions. That's what happens. You value your life less than my possession. So if you value your life less than my possession, okay, I will treat your life with the value that you treat your life with. I didn't invite you here. You came here of your own volition. Anyone on my property, in that case, doesn't value their life. So I will treat you as such. Junior Rabi says, good night, disagree. PEP has a different approach. You know, I don't think so, Junior Rabi. I don't think so. The PEP approach from leadership seems very much the same. PNM stink, PNM nasty, be vitriolic and disgusting against the leading party, build up animosity against the leading party, and hope that you get as much support with that as possible, without giving a clear view for a positive future. 99% of what is said is PNM evil, PNM nasty, dirty, stinking, so-and-so PNM. Doesn't appeal to me. Cheryl says bandits are not just robbing and leaving, they rob and kill. Yes, they do. But even if you're not robbing and killing, robbing is enough. You see, you have to understand what robbing is. When you take someone's television, you aren't just taking their television. This is something that someone worked for. Someone spent time. I don't know Sam Nasifret. Someone spent their time laboring for this. What you did is you stole their labor. You stole someone's hard labor. Someone may have worked 3 months on end to accumulate this thing. And what you just did was steal 3 months of that person's labor. It's like you enslaved someone for 3 months to do work for you. So it's not that I value my material goods. It's that I value my labor. And you didn't do this work. I did this work. You don't get to take my stuff. Joe says no person that wasn't invited in your home or on your premises should be there, especially when the premises is well secured. My mother always used to say a thief is a murderer. Good night, Heather Villafana. Gibran says agreed. Solutions don't require power. If someone had genuine solutions, they'd offer them for free. And if those with power actually cared, they'd implement solutions without any self-profit. Very well said, Gibran. Very, very well said. Because, and that's the issue I have. That's the issue I regularly have. Give me the outlined solutions. Don't just tell me the other guy is bad. I know that. And the problem that I have sometimes is even in the criticisms of the other guy. The criticisms of the other guy are just surface on emotional level. He's bad, he's evil, they're a dictator, hate them. No, like get into the nuance. Say exactly why this is bad. This is going to lead to this, which is going to lead to this, which is going to lead to this. Not just Rowley and them like the criminals. So they allowing the criminals to rob everybody. I mean, even if you believe that's not a good criticism of what is going on, but one can hope. Hey people, it's 11:30 closing in on a Monday night, and I think we're closing in on the end point here. At this point, we have to fight for life because it's too hard to give up my time to you in 2 secs. That's correct. That's correct. You don't get to come and steal my labor just like that. Gibran says nothing is stopping these solution-oriented people from meeting with the politicians or broadcasting the plans on social media. No, nothing is stopping them. I regularly see what I think would make a difference, what I think might be better. It's night before the holiday. Roni, night before the holiday, a guy got things to do nonetheless. You know, after prepare to emancipate myself. After prepare the emancipation. Now I had to bring out the drums. Ringing the day with the drums, you know. Trinidad's Flow says, I just hope Trinidad get back to them old days. Good luck with that hope, bro. Joe says tomorrow, please God, is a holiday. We should go an extra half hour. Woo! Hey! Alright, people. Any further comments or questions? Looking to dive out? It was my first time joining you live. Very important thing you're doing here, Nathan. Thank you, Cheryl. That's appreciated. We should have a vote. We'll be joining again. I appreciate that, Cheryl. Hey, Joe, this is not a democracy. This is a dictatorship. And I am the supreme leader of this here Mindful Live, Nathan Springer. What I say goes. There are no votes to be cast here, sir. I take some holidays and will call me out and out one day in. Wicked, yes. Bro, I have a neighbor who did the same thing, and he's a senior man in his organization. And nearly every day in his holiday, his work only calling him. I say, you know, bro, you basically didn't have a holiday. They're supposed to pay you overtime. Wicked people. Trinidad's Flow says it's hard looking in when you are on the outside. Yeah, bro. Pre says I now log on and you going night before the holiday. Which priest is that? That is the priest. Nisi says, I mean, you took 2 days off. Well, yeah, but those 2 days off were necessary. I will actually be here for the holiday tomorrow. You know, I feel whole week we using this hat. This hat channeling a kind of intelligence. We change hats for this week. A question I have for politicians: what would you do for the country if you didn't benefit? Woo. What would you do for the country positively if you didn't benefit? Yeah, good change on that. Some Nisafritz freestyle. Freestyle about what, bro? What are we freestyling about? I have nothing to freestyle about. So, on that note of freestyling, that's not going to happen. Put the mindful on that hat. That might be an idea, but I might have to get a new one, not this one. Yeah, get one in a more darker tone and get a mindful out on it. Blessed night, Heather Villafana. Blessed night. A bigger platform, you know, please. It's getting bigger, bro. It's getting bigger. We're growing, and we're streaming live over on YouTube, so you could head over there and subscribe. And don't worry, plans are in the play. As we grow, we'll grow. That's not a worry. Just share it, tell people, tune in. We're here every night, basically every weeknight around 9:30 p.m. If you don't see me exact 9:30, you know, 9:35, 36. A little after 9:30. There's a Discord server where you get all of the information when I won't be there, when I will be there. There's a Discord server. There's a Discord server. You could get that over on my TikTok profile there. Hey, Benjamin. Big up, bro. Big up, cuz. How things? Getting mindful beret like Chavez. White leather, I like it. I think I have to get a mindful in every hat style. A militant beret, not like Chavez. We have a local politician who used to rock the beret. Don't forget that. There's a local politician that rocked the beret. You all need to keep that in mind. Add some guest speakers and patterns from Western podcast platforms. Yeah, I know the guest speakers. I know the guest speakers. We'll be there. I humble fighting the good fight, man. Nice, bro. All right, people. I have someone here, you know. She insists that she always must jump in my life. Hi, baby girl. In a full black suit. We're in black tonight. Tell the people hi. Hi. You almost missed her, yeah. You almost missed her. She actually fell asleep, you know. And then at some point in time, she was like, nope. I can't go through the night and then jump in. Telling the people hello and bye. Telling the people bye. Me a five. Alright, people, that's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I will see you guys again for the next Mindful Live tomorrow evening. Until then, folks, peace.